Why do you think they maintain doubt?
I think juror 10 maintains doubt throughout the case, definitely through racism, definitely the heart of hate and racism in the entire group. Like he always looks like he's gonna fight somebody. He's racist. He's offending. Shuts everyone down when they try to vote not guilty, and he maintains it through racism.
He does almost try and fight people throughout the play.
Yeah, like he's grabbing the old guy, and I mean he maintains it through racism,
getting in their faces and really
kind of like
trying
just
to
getting
rile them up.
aggressive.
I think that he's maintaining it through his mind. His mind's telling him to stay in it, and he really maintains it through the whole play and gives up because he's had enough.
Yeah.
So, juror number 3 is very similar to juror number 10. He doesn't. I don't think he yells quite as much,
No.
but he does have the sort of ignorance and prejudice. It's just similar to what's displayed in juror number 10. Like he very.
It's almost like he's his cousin or something.
Yeah. I have a quote here. You all come in here with your hearts bleeding all over the floor about slum kids and injustice, which just shows how little he cares about the boy's upbringing and background, which could have been due to his own estranged son.
And kind of on like the flip side though, number 7's like kind of similar, but like not really. He's not even like just racist. He just doesn't have a lot of like concern for the kids.
I think he doesn't care much about slum people, but he's sort of indifferent and just wants to get the whole thing over with.
He just has he talks about his baseball game like he has to go to, and really wants to get to the baseball games, saying it's a goddamn waste of time.
It's almost like he doesn't have as much input to save time.
Yeah.
And like he ultimately switches his vote because like to go with the majority to try and get it done faster.
He had enough.
Yeah.
So up next, juror number 4, very logical, thinks things through, pays a lot of attention to the facts, only switches his vote after the rest of the evidence has been disproven. He changes when they make the case about the woman not being able to see properly.
Yeah, that was a big turning point for a lot of people.
Yeah. So he says the children who come out of slums are potential menaces to society. So it shows how little he thinks of just people from the slums and how they're sort of predisposed into
almost too stereotypical for the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was based in the 50s.
And that's like he kind of thinks similarly to number 8. They're both kind of like logical with it. Number 8 comes in by like his whole thing is like he doesn't know if the boy's guilty or not. Kind of starts off talking about how like when he comes in they're like he votes not guilty, saying we should at least talk about it before sending him to die.
I think number 8 focuses a little bit less on the facts, but still brings up important.
Yeah, brings up a lot.
Well, yeah, he kind of stopped the case from going right guilty all across the board.
Without him, there wouldn't have been
brought up more discussion.
And he keeps like reiterating that like throughout the play. But then there's like number 5 who started he started guilty. Then when everyone starts like making fun of the slums, dogging on the slums and whatnot, he kind of it kind of helped him switch votes to like not guilty because he was kind of getting fed up with everyone hating on it.
Yeah, 5. He had a bit more of an emotional connection to the boy, I think.
You kind of see himself within the boy since he grew up in the slums, works at a hospital in the slums.
He's kind of in a similar situation.
And I think number 9, the old guy, he's definitely, I think he's experienced a lot of different stuff in life. I think he's, experienced, some people in the slums. That's just from my point of view. He has the knowledge and the wisdom, but the majority of the jury doesn't actually listen to him. He's the first one to change his vote, actually, I just remembered. He tries to make an effort to quiet Juror 10 down, but Juror 10 will shut anybody down. He says, it takes a great deal of courage to stand alone. I'm just trying to be fair to the boy, which makes sense for an old guy. I mean, he's trying to, he's trying to be as fair as possible.
He changes his vote after he sees that juror number 8 is willing to discuss stuff.
Right, yeah. And I feel at that point, he probably thought that everybody at the table wasn't willing to discuss, and he would have just gone along with it.
He feels, I think, that everyone deserves a fair trial.
Yeah.
And to be treated equally.
For sure.
Up next, number 11.
Yeah, I just remembered about number 11, the watchmaker from Germany. I think he's more fair. He doesn't believe that he should be on one side or the other, I feel. He's, trying to get from both sides, and he understands both sides. He asks a lot of questions, and he's actually the third to vote not guilty.
I think it's the fourth, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. He very much likes the jury system and the way that they can, like, you can only prove so much in the courtroom
Yeah.
when it has to go to discussion afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Because that can be the difference between an innocent person
Mm-hmm.
being called guilty.
And I think that
He's
kind of
75,
takes from where he grew up. Grew up in Germany, and he's filled with a bunch of American guys. And I think that kind of shows, their take on, the German. I think he's a little bit more open for that.
Yeah.
So, up next, juror number 2, which he doesn't say much during the play, but I think he's just very reasonable about changing it after everything's called into question.
Mhm.
So reasonable doubt. Otherwise, not much to say about juror number 2.
Yeah, well, there's a lot to say about juror number 12. Works in advertising. He attempts to hold the integrity of the jury midway through. He sees that everything's falling apart. People want hung jury, specifically in juror 10, but he tries to hold, keep it in its place. He votes guilty a kind of later in the play.
Does he
He
not
had-
flip flop a lot?
He
though?
he flips a ton. He says, I've been in advertising for years, and I know how to read people. It's all about the image, which is funny because he votes guilty at the start, then not guilty, then guilty again,
Yeah.
and then not guilty at the very end. I don't think he really holds his integrity, much less of his career.
I don't think that really has much to do with reading people, because he just, as information came out, he changed his opinion.
Yeah, it'd be like, they mention the train, not guilty. Mentions something about the old guy, argues, guilty. Like,
Yeah.
it just all over the
Yeah,
place
so-
for him.
Kind of just flip flopping
Yeah.
around.
I'd call him a flip-flop.
Up next, number 1, the foreman. Doesn't say much, voicing his opinions, but he does take a rather important role as keeping discussion moving,
Mhm,
making sure
yeah.
it doesn't get stuck on things.
Starting with the votes and
Yeah. Helps to not lead to a hung jury, and
Yeah, without him,
Well-
it probably would have been like a hung jury.
rather important
Mhm.
character.
Yeah, I think him and which number also held integrity. I believe it's number 11. He also helps. Number 12. Number
Yeah.
12.
Yeah.
Him and number 12. They're sitting next to each other at the table, and I think they both kind of help co-manage everything.
Yeah, and kind of just to bring up the rear end of this, finishing off like number 6. He doesn't really say much through it, like the
Yeah,
whole thing.
he's
He's kind of
kinda
like
quiet.
silent.
Yeah.
But he does bring up like a really good point about how the train would have been loud. So like the guy downstairs wouldn't have been able to hear the boy like scream, "I'm gonna kill you."
He's sort of like a blue collar guy, and
Yeah.
thinks about things logically.
Yeah.
Or, as he says, he lets his boss do the supposing, thinking.
I think I'm
just-
pretty sure that's what he says.
He
somewhere.
just works. which-
Yeah.
So that's how they all maintain their doubt throughout.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think that's basically done. I hate neighbors.